Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of DevDrawer. Today we'll be going over how to build a WordPress website just like the one you see here from start to finish. You can take this lesson and use it on any type of website, but for this tutorial we're going to be building out a sample law firm website. In this lesson we'll be going over the initial design, installation, and setting up of WordPress, adding Elementor, as well as creating custom post types and adding those custom post types through shortcodes, as well as Elementor templates. All of this will be done on our local server, and once we're done building the website, just like it looks like on this website, I'll show you how to publish it to a server, set up security, and manage your SEO. Before we get started, if you're not subscribed to this channel, be sure to do so you don't miss out on the next episode. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So I use Illustrator whenever I'm building a design, but you can use whatever you want, or you can actually skip this part if you already have a designer or you don't really know how to design. There's a lot of options out there, but I like to design out the websites using Illustrator because it gives me some flexibility with the colors and how I get to build it. Whenever I'm building a website, I initially build like a home page design as well as an internal page design. So in this design, I'm actually taking it from a previous client that I had that needed a law firm website, and this is kind of what they wanted me to build, so I'm going to use this as kind of like a placeholder design for this entire website. And as I'm building it, you can kind of see that I don't just mock it up with blocks and stuff like that. I use it in some places like for icons just because I'll know what the icons are, then I'll explain to the client what an icon is going to be. But for the most part, it's actually a real view of what the website would look like, because this part is important for me because it allows me to kind of visually see what I want to have it in there, to be able to check out the fonts, the color scheme, and all this other kind of stuff that you need for the website. And it's easy to always go back and forth and reference the images that I'm doing. So I build it from the header all the way to the footer, and then I block it off on the right side of my Illustrator file that they don't get to see, but it gives me like a color code. So I can just go over there and click on it and grab the hex code that I need for the website, and then whenever I'm setting up the website, that's what I would use for that. And at this point, it's kind of just building out exactly what they want. No wireframes, but it's a little wireframe, a little structured. And you can see that I'm starting to build out the sub page now, and you only need one sub page because for the most part they're always going to look the same unless you have some custom functionality. You might want to build out a third mockup. But from what you can see right here, this is what the website would end up looking like. And again, if you don't know how to do design, there's a bunch of different ways that you can utilize something else, but this is it. So let's get started installing WordPress and setting up our database. So as you can see here, I'm using a WAMP server for a local server because it's free. Typically I would use our own Ubuntu-based Linux server, but for now, just because it's a little bit easier for most people to get started with, we're going to install WAMP. If you've never installed WAMP, you can actually just Google them. There's a package that you can download for whatever system that you're using, and then you can get started with it, and you'll be presented with a screen that looks like this. So we're going to come in here and we're going to add a virtual host, and I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And I already have a folder created for this project, and we're going to paste in that folder name, and then we're going to call it what we want to call it here. So let's do lawfirm.local, and then we're going to create that virtual host. Once it's been added, you can see here that you need to restart your DNS, which I'm going to do off screen, but if you go to your WAMP icon in your toolbar, you should be able to restart it from there. One of the really cool things about using WAMP is that it modifies your local host file for you, so you don't have to do this. So once you restart your WAMP DNS, it will show you a little pop-up with your command prompt. It'll run through the whole thing for you. Then essentially we can just open up this URL and it should bring us to a blank page. So if we go to lawfirm.local and let's open it up, now we have this local virtual server that's been created for us. So while we're in here, we need to go ahead and create the database for it as well. So I'm going to open up phpMyAdmin, and I'm going to log into our MySQL database using the root and no password just because it's WAMP. It's not super important for us right now. On your normal servers, of course, you would have a password here, but I'm going to go ahead and run this without the password on it. And then I'm going to create a new database, and I'm going to call it law firm. Then let's go ahead and create that. And now we don't need to do anything else with the database. We're going to use WordPress to set up everything for us. In order to do that, we need to first download and extract WordPress into our folder. So I've already downloaded it and I have it extracted. I just have to move it over. But what you would do is go to wordpress.org, click on Get WordPress, and then you would download it here. Once you download it, it's either going to have a tar file or a zip file. You would just extract the contents of that to your folder, which I am going to do right now. So just give me just a second to get it over there for it. So downloads, WordPress. I'm going to copy everything that's inside of the folder that I extracted, which y'all can't see because it is off screen, but you should be able to see it populating in just a second. Alright, so while we're waiting on that to populate, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this, and I'm going to refresh this, and you can see that it's starting to populate inside of that folder now. Okay, now everything should be transferred over, so I'm going to refresh the screen here, and it should bring us up into the WordPress installation setup, so we can go ahead and get started on doing this. So let's just go through the steps, and we have our database name. We called it Law Firm. The username is root. There is no password. And then because I'm using WAMP, I have this port that's set up here because I do use my server as a local server for the actual Ubuntu server. So I have 3308 is the port. You may or may not have to add that. I'm going to add it in there. And then we're just going to keep the table prefix at WP. So now we submit that. It says everything's good. We're going to go ahead and run that installation. And let's call this dev drawer sample law firm, and then we're just going to create a webmaster password, confirm that it's a weak password. Don't use a weak password on your full website. This is just for a test for this tutorial. It will be blown away after this. So let's go ahead and do test@example.com, and then for right now we're just going to discourage the search engines from indexing this site. And we're going to hit install WordPress. So don't need to remember that. And we're going to go ahead and log in. So webmaster and password. And we have a full, get rid of that. We have a full WordPress website that has just been installed. And we're going to go ahead and let's dismiss this and go to the plugins. We're going to install some of the default plugins, and we're going to remove some of the pre-installed plugins that WordPress comes with. Okay, so now we're going to add a new one, and first thing we want to do is add Elementor. Okay, so while that's installing, I also installed Elementor header and footer blocks template because we will be using this to set up our header and their footers. And like I said, you can also install add-ons for Elementor. It's a pretty cool plugin that allows you to give some more flexibility to it. We won't necessarily be using it in this this tutorial, but if you want to, you can see there's a lot of other additional options that you can add on to it. So for right now, we're just going to go ahead and activate Elementor, and then we're going to activate the other plugin that we downloaded as well. Let's activate that. So with the header and footer blocks, if you hover over your appearance, there is a new section called header and footer blocks, and the reason why you would want to install that is because, again, we're going to use this to create header and footer blocks that are displayed per the entire website or per certain pages. For this tutorial, it's going to be for the entire website, but this just gives us the Elementor view so we can go in there and install that as well. And then we also have this Elementor section here, and we can go over to settings and you can see which kind of post types you can use Elementor on. We're just going to be using it on the default pages and posts for now, and then we're going to go in there and create our own custom post types. Okay, so this is going to be a large series, so it's going to be a couple of videos, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this one here. Basically, we have WordPress installed now. We've set up our local WAMP installation. We've installed the required plugins. In the next video, we'll actually get into the theme creation. getting that all set up, and then we'll just kind of continue from there. But I think I'm going to go ahead and stop it here. Check out next week to see whenever we start actually building out the theme, and then we'll just do some follow-ups from there. But again, this is going to be a fairly long series. I want to break it up into as many snippets as I can, just to make it easier to digest. So thanks for watching, and I will talk to you later.